Today on the news and why it matters, AOC's Me Too moment. Is doxing just like a thing that we're doing now? Is that just now a new cool thing? And Media Meltdown edition 10,120,064, I guess. Obviously a lot coming up. Don't change that dial. It starts right now. Welcome to the news and why it matters. I am Sarah Gonzalez, today joined by Stu Burgier, author David Harris Jr., and Jason Howerton, social media guru here at The Blaze. Thank you, gentlemen, for joining us. Let's start with poor AOC.
Do you believe what's happened to her?
Poor AOC. I can't wait to, Stu, I want you to just kind of unravel really her traumatic experience that has gone on in a second. But let's talk about realestateagentsitrust.com first.
I mean, you're shaking me, and I don't know that I can do this now. You've now got me in the AOC moment, but I think
your PTSD from AOC's Me Too moment.
Yeah, realestateagentsitrust.com is a service that Glenn started, a company he started to sort out the whole real estate mess, because I think most people kind of get locked into a friend or someone that they kind of know that they bump into at a Starbucks or they see on a bench. These are all not good ideas. I don't mean sitting on a bench. I mean their pictures on the bench.
No, you're sitting on them on the bench.
You're sitting on them like, oh, look, I should buy from that person. It's just one of those things that we don't take the time to really think about. And it's such a big transaction. You got to make sure you have the right person. So Glenn has a system. He has people who are constantly looking into the best agents in your area, people who have great ratings, great feedback, the best results to be able to turn houses around fast and for the most money. And that's what you get when you go to realestateagentsitrust.com. They give you the best agent in your area.
So again, you can go to realestateagentsitrust.com if you are looking to buy or sell wherever you are. They're located all over the nation. All right, so AOC.
Yes, AOC was attacked by a band of white high school students. Here's the picture. You can see her being attacked, right? I mean, look at this. I mean, look at what you're seeing. Do you believe that this happened? Now, she's got that weird white line around her head. And
she's also very surprised.
Yeah. She's not very thin. What is she doing?
Yeah, she's been keto. I think she's been doing a little keto. She's very thin from front to back. It's hard to tell there. That's because she's a cardboard cutout, and it's not actually her. Now, is this appropriate for high school kids to do? Probably not. But you know what high school is? It's a bunch of inappropriate stuff. It's kind of the whole thing that you're doing in high school. It's a piece of cardboard. So it's not really doing anything. It's just a ridiculous joke. Of course, the Daily Beast, which is a major media outlet run by, and owned by a billionaire Democratic donor, they actually decide to run a news story about how these high school students are doing nasty things to a cardboard cutout of AOC. Now, stop and think about this for a minute, because we blurred the picture. They did not. They put the faces of 7 or 8 high school kids in the national media for doing something, silly and probably inappropriate, but get over it. Like, it's nothing. It's not really her, guys. And they now have sent their pictures all over America. So that they can be targeted and
which they will be.
And they will be. And
in this day and age of social media, you can't do that without consequences anymore. It's not innocent.
No.
And they know better.
Yeah.
The Daily Beast knows better.
They know what they're doing.
They know how this goes.
They know better. And does a high school student at that point know better? Probably not. No. As we were talking about as we were about to go in the air, like, God forbid, we had these cameras and everything back in high school when we were this is what you're doing. You're doing dumb stuff. You're doing stuff that embarrasses you later on. Well, now it embarrasses them right then, and they get death threats and they get attacked.
And then it follows them through college and everything else, right? Now they're white supremacists now, right?
Forever. Of course, forever, right? And it's this is a larger problem with the media than just this story, but it is not a news story when a person at a coffee shop says something offensive and it's caught on a camera. Right, like the thing with the Baltimore congresswoman or what was she, state senator, whatever that was, from a few weeks ago, and it turned out that the person was actually really a Democrat and wasn't being racist at all, but he was accused of racism. But let's just say he was racist. Any random guy in a coffee shop saying something racist is not a news story. It's a terrible thing, and that guy should be embarrassed for himself. for himself, but it's not a news story. High school kids, the Covington thing, if the Covington thing was as the media portrayed it, it's still not a news story. Let's just say a high school kid was really offensive to some passing person in the middle of a public area in Washington, D.C. That's not news.
Wait,
that's something that they get grounded for.
You're telling me kid smiling smugly
yes.
at a Native American man is not news?
I know, it's shocking.
Front page everywhere.
But I mean, even if
until he wears a red hat.
Yes.
Remember they were saying,
Exactly.
yeah, I know. Remember when they were saying that they thought it was like go build the wall and go back home, and like that was in the initial reporting from the Washington Post. We found out later it was another group nearby saying that. But let's just say these kids were a lot worse than they actually are, and they were saying those things. Still not a news story, guys. And here's a situation, the same thing with AOC, where they, I guess, harassed a piece of cardboard. And then the Daily Beast goes to the Senate Majority Leader's office to get a comment because, if you couldn't tell from the picture initially, they're all wearing Team Mitch shirts, matching shirts for Mitch McConnell's campaign. They actually released a pretty funny statement. This is what it says. Team Mitch in no way condones any aggressive, suggestive, or demeaning act towards cardboard cutouts of any gender in a manner similar to what we saw from President Obama's speechwriting staff several years ago.
I like the in any gender part.
I know, it's pretty
That's
funny.
classic.
It's actually a good, solid response.
He's got a good
Absolutely.
team these days.
He does.
The stuff he puts out is
which
great.
is kind of unexpected.
It's weird,
You
yeah.
would not expect that.
No, it's a
lot.
weird feeling.
And this is the defining thing. We talked about this on the TV show today, went through a lot on this particular story. This is the defining thing about the Squad. The Squad, a lot of people would associate with socialism or, really liberal things or, young persons of color or whatever you want to say. What the defining characteristic of the Squad is victimization. They are always the victim. They are on the Mount Rushmore of victimhood, no matter what happens. The best example of this, and I wish I remembered to include it in the TV show, but we'll do it here, is when Ben Shapiro asked Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez for a debate, and she said, "Are you catcalling me?" It's like, what are you talking about? Like, this is like
Immediate victim.
Immediate victim, no matter what happens. And so she, instead of just saying, "Oh, geez, I mean, can you believe this? Roll your eyes and move on with her life." No, she has to call out McConnell. Here's what she said: "Boys will be boys." Now, where does that come from? If you see the linked tweet below from the Daily Beast, it says Mitch McConnell's campaign manager essentially says boys will be boys in response to the image of teens groping and choking a cutout of AOC. Now, they didn't say boys will be boys. The Daily Beast just made that up. They said essentially does a lot of heavy lifting in that sentence. In fact, it just changes the entire sentence. It's amazing. And then, so she thinks, of course, Ocasio-Cortez, who's actually dumber than her cutout, thinks that it's an actual quote. She says, "Boys will be boys. Well, is this why you won't sign the Violence Against Women Act? It prevents dating partners with records of abuse." Like, no, it has nothing to do with that. The cardboard cutout thing has nothing to do with this policy on violence against women. And then she follows up with this last one, which is, of course, a disaster as well. "Hey, Senate Majority Leader, these young men look like they work for you. Just wanted to clarify, are you paying for young men to practice groping and choking members of Congress with your payroll, or is this just the standard culture?"
Oh my gosh.
Can you possibly be more dramatic than this person? She's legitimately insane. But I mean, it is to a point where it is really the thing that is incentivized in our culture. Like, it's no longer like achievement is praised, victimization is praised. If you can find a way to make yourself the victim of the day, you run the news cycle. And we've incentivized this behavior. AOC is just on the, she's on Mount Rushmore for it, but she's not the only one doing it. And it's really despicable. My favorite example, though, today was white supremacists. There's an article in the New York Times today talking about what the white supremacist movement has changed, and they legitimately lay out that 20 years ago they were white supremacists, like they were supreme, but now they're the victims of this invasion of Hispanic and black people coming across the border, and they're going to be replaced all the time. And it's like, even white supremacists are doing this. They're all victims too. Even white supremacists won't say they're supreme anymore. This has really gone through the entire culture now. And, AOC is a great example of it, but it is everywhere.
How old is AOC?
29.
Because those tweets remind me of somebody in high school.
Yeah.
High school drama queen. How can I get attention? Who can I try to outdo in coming with a backup? Of something that's just ridiculous.
I think the
She's
most
in
disturbing
Congress.
thing, though, is like with the victimhood thing is it doesn't matter who is exploited. Like, there's nothing's off limits to make yourself a victim. It doesn't matter if it's a kid, a child, random nobody, like with some of these other things that are going on, as long as it can be exploited for that end, like the victim of that doesn't matter. Like that's really scary to me. That there used to be some rules you don't break, right? Children.
Yeah, posting pictures of kids. They're not 18.
And now those don't exist anymore.
Yeah, I mean, I think you can get on AOC and all of the rest for trying to score points in this game, but the real problem is that the game exists at all. There's this weird incentive in this country of all countries, a country that's built on being the best and achieving and taking risks. It's now, how do I get everyone to feel bad for me every day? And that is it's a reversal of how this country was founded and everything we stand for.
Yeah. David, I want to move on to Julian Castro.
Yeah.
What happened with him?
So he decided that it was okay to list names of donors, for Trump supporter donors, list them publicly, their names and their place of business. And I believe it's in the El Paso area. He was doing it on purpose, trying to tie these Trump supporters to the tragedy in El Paso. And you can play the clip when I'm grateful at least that this commentator was asking him and kind of put him on the spot about what he thought was going to happen, but his response is ridiculous.
Congressman, as you look at this list, I know you said you didn't put their addresses out there. It's easy to find them. These people undoubtedly are already being harassed online or perhaps face-to-face. What do you say to those people this morning who said, I made a campaign donation and now I'm going to be harassed? I'm going to have people protesting outside my business or perhaps even my home. What do you say to them? Do you want them to repent for their support for Donald Trump, or what do you want from them?
Well, the first thing is that I don't want anybody harassed or targeted.
But they will be, because you put their names in public.
Like that was not my intention.
But that's
these things are no. What I would like for them to do is think twice about supporting a guy who is fueling hate in this country.
Yeah, I don't want to threaten them, but I want them to think twice.
But if you agree that rhetoric can lead to incitement, even if it just triggers one person to do something terrible, does it give you any pause about putting these people's names out in public?
No.
Nah.
Shocked,
Absolutely.
though.
Yeah, I mean, kudos to MSNBC for him actually saying,
let's say Willie Geist, because I don't want to give the whole network.
Let's give kudos to Willie because he didn't let him get a pass on it. You know, Castro's trying to say, "Oh, that wasn't my intention." That's exactly was his intention. And it's just like the follow-up, the story that we just talked about, where the fact that the Daily Beast would publish the picture of these boys. It's like, here we've got this congressman that is literally putting people out there, willingly knows that they're going to be harassed, get death threats. I really hope Trump supporters show up to all these people's businesses and show them some support.
Did you see the list, though? It wasn't just business people. There were retirees on it.
Yeah.
There was a homemaker on it. We're not just talking about like big business, like
and such,
we're talking about just random people. A homemaker that now is going to have to deal with all this. So
it's disgusting.
It's a good segue to what we were just talking about. Like that used to be like who would do that? Like to his own constituents even. Like he's a congressman. Like he represents Texans and he's doing that.
I think he actually wants, if I dare say, I think that the left actually wants more violence.
I agree.
I think they want more chaos. I think they'd love to see this country rip itself apart because then they could sit back and blame Donald Trump for it.
That's all. That's
really
all they care about, right? At the end of the day, is
Yep.
how can we blame Donald Trump for any of the problems going on in this world?
And I'll say too, like if there's one thing from the 2016 election you think the Democrats would have learned their lesson on is the basket of deplorables, right?
Yeah.
Like here they are now saying anyone who supports Donald Trump is a racist. Like if you go back and look at Hillary's comment, it was very limited to a certain section of the alt-right. She said, you know, look, I think there are some really bad people. There's this basket of deplorables, they're bad. And then there's a lot of people who might come vote for me and they're good. Like, they're just saying everyone who supports Trump is racist now.
Yeah.
They've actually gone much further than her. And I will say that I believe that was Joaquin Castro,
Yeah,
the
sorry,
twin brother.
You're correct.
Now, he has a beard. And that's how you can tell them apart. And I will say the best argument for Julian Castro is if he sucks, we could just swap him out for Joaquin and see how that goes.
Oh, I'm sure Joaquin will be much better.
You're going to get two for the price of one. You got two options. Who knows which one's going to be better?
Well, you know, David, it's interesting because he went on there and said, no, that was not my intention at all. What are you talking about? But his buddy Rashida Tlaib said, Chairman Castro, they don't like it when you name their donors. The public needs to know who funds racism. Like, that's very clearly the intent. Well, your buddy over here is saying that that's what your goal is, right?
Plus, you heard him. He said, I don't want them to be harassed, but his intent, when he finally admitted it, I want them to think twice. What does that mean? That means you want them to be afraid again to donate to Trump. Mm-hmm. How is that not intending to intimidate and harass them?
I just hope the American people wake up and see what's taken place, especially after tragedies like we just had this last weekend in Gilroy and in Chicago. It's the same thing. It's like they're all tragic, but here we've got one party that is continually trying to exploit these tragedies and blame individuals that are completely innocent. Donald Trump's innocent, all of his Trump supporters are innocent, and the shooters, if we're pointing out those things, they came back that they were Warren supporters and echoing AOC stuff. They're far left progressives. So it's something I hope the American people are waking up to.
Yeah. All right, back in a minute.
That's unbelievable. I mean, you think that they would have learned that these cases.
All right, Jason, media meltdown. I'm sure that term comes as no surprise to anyone at the table, but this one was particularly egregious.
Well, it feels like the closer we get to the election, like the more desperate to do what they can, like just to make sure like there's no way he can get reelected, because like that's so outside of the realm of possibility. But this one is unlike anything I've ever seen before. This is a former FBI bigwig, so like somebody high up in the organization, and he's on MSNBC explaining why Trump's decision to fly flags half-staff in honor of the victims of the shootings in El Paso and Dayton, while that has a secret, very secret numerology symbolism that is a hat tip to Nazis and to Hitler. Just stay with me for a second.
Wow.
Stay with me for a second. Okay. So this, I want to make sure I get this guy's name. He's now an MSNBC contributor, Frank Figliuzzi.
That says it all.
Figliuzzi, something.
I'm not sure that you did get his name right.
Probably not. But anyway, so he's a former FBI. He's on MSNBC. Let's watch this clip and see. Just listen. He makes some good points.
We have to understand the adversary and the threat we're dealing with. And if we don't understand how they think, we'll never understand how to counter them. So it's the little things and language and messaging that matters. The president said that we will fly our flags at half-mast until August 8th. That's 8/8. Now, I'm not going to imply that he did this deliberately, but I am using it as an example of the ignorance of the adversary that's being demonstrated by the White House. The numbers 8/8 are very significant in neo-Nazi and white supremacy movement. Why? Because the letter H is the 8th letter of the alphabet, and to them, the numbers 8/8 together stand for Heil Hitler. So we're going to be raising the flag back up at dusk on 8/8. No one's thinking about this. No one's giving him the advice.
No one is thinking about this.
He's rejecting the advice.
No, he's so right. No one is thinking about this. This is, we have reached, I mean, that is beyond Alex Jones level. And this is on network television.
That's out
and
there.
This is like a guy, and nobody said anything. It wasn't like that was a weird thing to say on like if I sat here and I was like,
they needed Willie on that segment.
They did.
They needed Willie on there to call that out and be like, wait a minute.
If
where
you
the
sat
heck
here
are you
on
coming
this
with that?
program and said that, that would be your last time on this program.
Seriously, for real though. And if or something with Obama, he's going to an event on July the 2nd, and that is, if you add up 1 and 2, it's like, are you kidding me right now?
Unbelievable.
That is jaw-dropping.
It really is.
Insane.
And so this guy was like in charge of like helping keep us safe from terrorists. Like that's kind of scary to me. Like that somebody with that kind of judgment.
I think it's proof the deep state is real.
Maybe so. Maybe that's like the best example of it, if there is one. So to me, so this is what I'm seeing. Again, I'm seeing like a ratcheting up of like these types of like it's always been bad. Trump is racist, everything. But like now it's like getting so deep. Like every word, every phrase, numerology, like every single thing you could possibly throw at it. The desperation is so thick right now in the media to just prevent him from winning. And it's becoming a problem to the point where, like, I've been a guy who has been pretty critical of Trump in terms of, I think sometimes he goes too far with the anti-media stuff. I'm with him to a certain extent, and then I'm like, I wish he wouldn't have gone that far, but they're pushing me so far with what they're doing, it's hard for me to even make that stance anymore. There's a ton of
That's
good...
right. Come on, get on the Trump train, baby. Get all the way on.
I'm
Don't
there.
hold back. Get all the way on the Trump
I'm
train.
there. I cannot imagine what could possibly happen to make me think that the other side is sane enough that I should vote for them. I mean, I can't. I mean,
that's
There's
a
nothing.
standard worth considering.
There's nobody worth considering.
I mean, like, no one's going to vote for Elizabeth Warren, I don't think, at this table. I don't think that's going to happen. But, look, I think you're right. It's like there is the Obama-Trump voter is the voter that turned the election last time, and it's the voter that's going to be most in play here. And a person who is left enough to vote against Obama, not even in 2008, but 2012, right? Like, you're voting 12 against Romney, where like Romney was not an offensive candidate to the far left, right? He was about as inoffensive of a Republican as you could possibly get, I think, for a moderate, right? And for a person who's like, you know what, I'd rather have Obama in that situation and went to Trump, that's a person who could be won over by a Democrat who did a good job. But they can't do a good job.
Yeah,
like they are incapable of it, and they are pushing people who were probably Obama voters back over to Trump at this point. I mean, they just can't handle it. And this is what's so great about a primary for Democrats, because they all are falling all over each other to get on MSNBC to say that Trump is the most racisty, the most racist of all time, and they're trying to outdo each other to get the volume.
They're lying.
They're lying.
Yeah,
So I'm going to make one other quick point. Nicole Wallace on NBC, I don't know if it was this morning or last night, went on the air on MSNBC. Again, this is
These buildups are great.
This is an anchor.
Yes.
This is an anchor of a news. I keep doing this. A news program, and claimed that Trump has called for the extermination of Latinos.
What?
Said that out loud.
Oh my gosh.
And was not checked until of course, social media gets a hold of it, and then she apologized. She says, "I mistakenly," or I can't remember what her apology was.
her apology was crap.
It was nonsense.
It was
It's
crap.
my
She's like, I
goodness.
apologize for saying that, but Trump really is racist, and we need to look
so it's
at
like,
his
yeah,
words.
I always
gosh.
accidentally say somebody wants genocide, but it was an accident.
we all
like
do that.
completely.
Unintentionally, that's what she said. I
So,
unintentionally.
and my point on
said it.
Twitter was, I hope that there's not white supremacists watching MSNBC and taking that at face value and thinking that that's true.
Yeah.
And feeling emboldened to have those. It's like, you can't, like, that rhetoric that's dangerous.
It is.
To put that out there, to even speak it into existence, and then to claim that the president of the country supports that. I mean, you're talking about a whole new level of derangement, and it's a problem. I think it's worse than anything Trump said, to be honest with you.
Oh, absolutely. Well, I
yeah.
mean, because it's not just the media; it's our leaders as well. Our leaders who are supposed to be. It's funny because you think about, man, Congress used to be like a really respected position.
Yeah.
It's
Not anymore.
No.
It's a clown show.
Yeah.
It's a reality clown
approval
show.
rating at this point.
Yeah, it's bad.
To 10, 11, 12% approval. It's a disaster.
Yeah. All right, we got to take a break. We'll be back.
That's amazing. I mean, they really.
Did you have a clip for that?
Coming up in overtime, the latest international travel warnings. You guys will not believe where people are being told not to travel to. That's coming up. You got to go to blazetv.com in order to view that. And you think that this is fun? The party's just getting started here. All right, that's where we have the most fun. And before we go, I just wanted to say happy 7th birthday to my little boy.
Yeah.
Happy birthday. Love you so much. Can't wait to go home and celebrate with you. We'll see you next.